Hey guys, welcome back to the Beyond the Game podcast. My name is Jess Crowe and I'm joined here today by Wigan Warriors rugby player Liam Marshall. Liam, thank you very much for joining me on the pod. How's it going?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Thanks for having me on today. Yeah, feeling good and in the middle of a tough old season, so we're in the swing of it fully now.
Excellent. Now, today we're going to be talking about your journey through rugby as a whole, but let's take it right back to the beginning. Of course, you've had quite the inspiring journey in rugby, but where did it all begin for you?
Yeah, so the first time I actually played any form of rugby, thinking back now, was probably at school. I never really played as a young kid. I was always into football first. I'm from a family of four boys. I've got two older brothers and a younger brother, so sport was a massive thing for us. But my dad never sort of pushed me down any paths, even though he played rugby for Wigan himself. So I started playing rugby when I went to Standish High School. Two lads who I'm friends with now who still play rugby were playing down at a team, and they see me on the school team and asked me to come down. So that's where it pretty much started.
Excellent. I was going to ask, did you really stand the chance at playing another sport with your dad, of course, playing for Wigan as well? But it seems you took the other route. But did that having your dad also play for Wigan, was that an inspiration for you, or was there a lot of competitiveness there?
There's a bit of inspiration as I've got older. His career sort of finished before I was even born, really. He only had a really short career at Wigan, so uh, video obviously is very sparse from those times. So I've only seen bits of him playing. The occasional clip pops up in the archive. So when I was a kid, he would tell me about that he'd play for Wigan, but he never forced anything on me, as I said. So choosing a sport or doing an activity was always dependent on me, whether I was enjoying it or not, or what my friends at school were doing. So I had a pretty relaxed upbringing sport wise, and it's probably quite strange really when your dad's played him not to push you down that path. But I feel like that's why I probably enjoy my sport as much as I do, because I've never been forced to do something necessarily that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And then, of course, both being wingers, was that by design or coincidence?
Coincidence. I think it must just be something in the genes. The only difference is he preferred playing on the right hand side, and I preferred playing on the left hand side. There's always a bit of a running joke in our family with my grandma, my dad's mum, about who was better or who was faster. So she makes the final decision and breaks one of our hearts when we talk about it. So yeah, I think just must just be some characteristics that he's passed down to me that I played on the wing. But no, it's quite cool, really, when I think about it, to be sort of father and son and both play for your hometown team. It's quite special and something that I've probably never really appreciated till I was a little bit older.
Of course, I love that family rivalry you've got going on. And now you say before rugby, it was, of course, football. But do you recall the first time you felt that sense of achievement in rugby?
Yeah, it was probably pretty early on. As I said, I started when I went to high school, but only really playing for the school team. I was still playing football outside of school then, and we was lucky enough as a school team in year seven to get all the way through to the English schools finals, which, if anyone doesn't know, is played at Wembley as a curtain raiser for the Challenge Cup final. So our team was really good all year. We progressed through sort of our local competition, and then our sort of regional competition, and then, like I said, pushed all the way through, got to the final at Wembley and actually won. So that was probably the first time I had any sort of big achievement in rugby, was playing at Wembley, which is pretty crazy that your first real trophy or your first real big game is at Wembley, which is a well-renowned stadium. So at sort of 11, 12 years of age, we travelled down and had a great weekend down there, and all our families came. So it's probably a big moment for me and all the lads who played on the team. It's maybe a highlight of your career, really.
Absolutely, that's incredible. And now, how would you describe yourself as a young player in that moment? Did you face it head on and really tackle that opportunity, or did nerves set in? Do you think?
Yeah, there was probably a bit of both there. I think you're quite young and naive still when you get out on the pitch, but you've also got the fact that you're walking out onto Wembley, which is a stadium that's spoke about across the world, isn't it? I did a shirt presentation for the Year Seven boys final that's happening this year, because both schools are from Wigan that are competing, and when I was speaking to them, I just sort of was trying to imagine back me stood in that tunnel, or me travelling down, and what sort of feelings that I thought. But yeah, it was probably a lot of nervousness and excitement, but I think sometimes the fact that you're so young and naive, you sort of just take it in your stride. And we were lucky enough to win that day, and I think that made it even more special.
Great stuff. And where do you think your characteristics lay in that dressing room?
I've probably changed a bit from when I was a bit younger. I probably was a little bit quieter when I was younger, especially in and around a team environment. Maybe on the pitch, I was probably quieter. Off the pitch, I was still pretty loud as I am now, but I've sort of grown from that. Um, I'm a bit of a joker, not very serious, but I've tried to sort of flick that. So I'm when it is game day, when it's time to concentrate, because I'm a bit older now in the team, that I try and well, progress, show that I'm being serious and try and grow into a bit of a leadership role. But yeah, I try and do it with my own stance and not go from a laughy jokey to a military sergeant sort of thing when it's game time.
Excellent. And now, growing up in Wigan, just how much of involvement did rugby league have on your childhood?
Yeah, it's massive. I think obviously Wigan is well renowned for being a rugby league town and it's working class. And I think the highlight of a lot of people's week is coming down to the stadium and watching a game. And I probably didn't get down to as many games live at the ground when I was younger, but we definitely watched every game on the television when we could. I think it's massive. I think it sort of, like I said, because I only went into rugby late, maybe it didn't have as much a big of an impact. But I remember when I did get into high school, a lot of my friends were signed up at Wigan early, so we used to go down to the games together and watch a lot of games, especially in our later years of high school. So it was like a highlight of the week. It's like a sort of your night out when you're a teenager, just to go down to the game and walk down and stuff. So yeah, it's a big part of Wigan. It's what we're known for. It's what we're about. It's probably one of the most famous things that comes out of Wigan, and you can go across the world and people know about Wigan Rugby League. So yeah, it's definitely a big part of the town. And yeah, for me growing up, it grew as I got older, and it became a massive part of my life.
And when you did start taking rugby more seriously, as you say, did you always know it could be a potential career path for you, or were you just completely playing for the enjoyment of it?
Yeah, play for the enjoyment of it. I think as I sort of grew up and I started playing rugby in high school, as I said, and I joined a local amateur team, Wigan St Patrick's, and played with a lot of my friends. In that team down at St Pat's, there was a lot of lads who were signed or associated to clubs, and I wasn't one of them. There was only me and one other lad who didn't train sort of with a professional team alongside our amateur training. So it was always just for the enjoyment, for the fun, for the social, and sort of being and playing with your mates and having a game at the weekend. So not until I was probably 17, 18 when Wigan sort of started having conversations with me and bringing me down to training. Did I seriously think it could be a career? I think even then I was a bit sort of just chilled and laid back with it and just sort of took it as it was. And I think probably even to my late teens, early 20s, it was then like, right, now this is a big shot. I've got to sort of take it. So I think in some ways that's a good thing. It kept me a bit more relaxed and a bit more chilled and a bit less pressure on myself. But maybe if I'd have pushed a little bit harder, sort of on the contrary, then maybe it would have come a bit sooner, or maybe I would have been maybe a slightly better player than I currently am. So yeah, there's sort of pros and cons for each side of it, but no, it wasn't. It was never a career that I thought I would be doing.
Excellent. And then entering the space of the academy at Wigan, what did that process of involvement look like for you?
Yeah, so with rugby, usually when you get to sort of year 11, you get to 16 in this country, if you can either get signed up to an academy system, or you'll carry on playing amateur. So I was never associated, as I said, or signed up to any team. So I carried on playing amateur rugby for Wigan St Pat's, and played sort of in the open age system and played a few games there. And I was picked for the sort of the England amateur team, and was scouted in again by Wigan. And Matt Pete, who's now our head coach, was the academy head coach at the time. So I was brought into the academy on trial with Matty as the head academy coach. So did about 6 weeks training in the preseason there, and was sort of fortunate enough to have done well enough in their eyes to gain a 1 year contract. And then I did another 1 year contract and just sort of rolled from there. Then I was sent out into the reserves and different things. But yeah, it sort of started to get serious then. I think that's when sort of my journey with Matty sort of started, and we've sort of gone simultaneously up to the first team and to where we are now.
Of course. And what were the biggest lessons that you took away from your time in the academy?
Well, Wigan is sort of renowned for being a pretty tough training academy, and they're very successful. So I think sort of the professionalism side was something I'd never really uh, been shown before. I'd never really been in a professional environment, so sort of learning that and picking that up pretty quick was something that has helped me, and just the sort of dedication and effort and time it takes to get to where you want to be. The training is in some aspects is arguably harder than it is at first team, because they're just trying to sort of bed into you what they want as a first team player, but also sort of see where your mentality's at, because I think it's all right being physically at it and being able to keep up, but if you're not willing to keep turning up every day and making the sacrifices off the field, then you won't make it. So probably just a lot of big lessons early on. It's maybe a bit of a shock to the system. Early on, you're training 5-6 times a week, even though you're only part time, and um, you've got games at a weekend, or you're training on a Sunday, and so your friends and stuff are maybe going out where you've got to stay in because you know you're up for training or a game the next day. So just some good life lessons, and probably the sacrifice side was a big one that you've got to adjust to.
Coming towards the end of your time at the academy at Wigan, then, of course, then going on loan to Swinton for a year and scoring 20 tries in your 22 appearances there. How big of an involvement did that club have in the development of yourself as a player?
Yeah, massive. I'd say my year at Swinton in 2016 was probably the turning point for my career today, I would say. A bit of background to that is I'd sort of got to the end of my age limit for the academy. So at that point, when you're sort of 19, it was under 19s. The club could either take you on full time in the first team, or you would be released as sort of there wasn't any rugby for you. So I was in the bracket of being released. Matty had told me that there wasn't a progression for me at the club. There wasn't a path made for me to move into the first team, so that I'd be sort of surplus to requirements, really. And then, lucky enough for me, not long after that conversation, the reserve league was starting to kick back up. So it meant that the lads in that bracket, which I fell into, of sort of too old for academy, but maybe not quite ready for first team, would fall into that. So Wigan offered me a part time, very minimal contract just to stay involved and play reserve games. But at the time, there was only, I think it was maybe 6 or 8 reserve games across the year, which is not a lot at all. So early on in the year, I think after one of the first reserve games, Matty had suggested that we went and took the loan at Swinton for the year. So at the time, I was sort of seeing it as a bit of a punishment, or a sort of just them sort of easing me out of the club, and I'd sort of move on and maybe play there. So at that point, I was working full time as an accountant, and training in the evenings with Swinton. And probably as a young, naive 18-year-old, 19-year-old as I was just sort of disillusioned with rugby, and I'd still turn up to training, but I feel like I didn't really take it very seriously off the field, diet and sort of nutrition, and sort of my physicality stuff, my strength and conditioning stuff was probably taking a dive, really. And there was points where I was considering not playing, and I'm glad I stayed on, because I went on to have a really good year at Swinton. And I don't know whether the fact that I was quite chilled about it, or it wasn't super serious, maybe helped me. But coming to the back end of that year, like you said, I got a phone call, and it was Wigan saying they wanted to take me full time. So it came as a massive shock, really. I was driving home from work. I worked in Preston at the time, so I was driving home. My agent rang me, and took me back, really. And I think then I sat down with my now wife Meg, who was obviously my girlfriend at the time, and my parents, and just sort of had the discussion whether we uh, go and have a crack at rugby full time, or I carry on with my career that I'd made outside of rugby. And they all said the same as me, which was to chuck all my eggs in one basket for at least a couple of years and see where it went. And luckily I made that decision, because it's sort of got me to where I am today. So I always have a big indebted to Swinton for what they did to me. Just sort of really opening my eyes to rugby. I think playing against sort of grown men week on week in a tough league that is the Championship, and it's sort of put me in good stead for where I am now. And it's funny, because John Duffy, who's now involved at Wigan, was the coach at Swinton at the time. So I see him every day, and we always have a good laugh about them times. So it's yeah, it's sort of fond memories of my year at Swinton, and it's probably one that really changed my career for the better.
Excellent. And now we'll come back onto Wigan in just a second. But as you say, you're a young 18, 19-year-old player working as an accountant, sort of taking it as a punishment, if you will. How much did that teach you about the mental resilience aspect and how being able to bounce back from those setbacks, if you will?
Yeah, it's definitely helped me. It's definitely sort of molded me into the character I am today. I think if anything, the smallest side you can take from it is the fact that it just gives you a sort of newfound appreciation for the position that we're lucky enough to be in. Working full time and then having to train. So I would work like on some of the days I was still going in with Wigan at sort of 6 in the morning. I'd train with them or do extra training with them. Then I'd put my shoe and pants on, drive from Wigan to Preston for a 9 o'clock start. I'd have a half an hour dinner so I could leave at 5 rather than 1/2 past to then drive to Swinton and train with them, and then I'd be getting back in at like 9, 10 at night to start again the next day. So I think it if anything, it just sort of taught me, like you said, the one thing resilience, but to have a greater appreciation of the lucky position that we're in now. I wouldn't change it. I think it's massively helped. It's like I said, it's all part of the growing phase, isn't it? And molding you into what you are now. But um, like I said, it not that a normal job is anything bad, and I respect people massively who have careers outside of sport, and my friends who have jobs who were involved in sport who are not anymore. But it makes me realise how lucky I am to do what I do and probably enjoy it even more.
Excellent. And now on return to Wigan, then making your debut, you wasted no time at all in showcasing the progression you've made over the last year. Of course, then making your debut 4 days later, scoring 4 tries in your second appearance for them. What did you learn, and how much did that teach you, that breakthrough period?
Yeah, it was sort of back end of 2016. Like I said earlier about getting the phone call, and we decided to have a full crack at it. So I obviously started with Wigan in sort of November 2016 and went full time with them and had a full pre-season. And at the beginning it was tough because I was physically probably not where I needed to be. Um, so it took a bit of catching up, doing some extra sessions in the morning and stuff. But um, as the pre-season progressed and going into the new year before the start of the new season, I felt like I was in a good position, physically, mentally, really enjoying myself and sort of making a good impression on the coaches. It was Sean Wayne at the time, so um, sort of a tough nut to crack and a renowned coach for having his standards really high. So I managed to get in his good books a little bit, but still, as the season started, there was 3 or 4 lads who were better and fitter and sort of older who played in my position. So as the season started, I was still probably fourth or fifth choice to even get a shot on the wing. And I think sometimes you need a bit of luck in your career, and I was unlucky for them, but lucky for me. There was a few injuries at the beginning of the year, and I managed to come in and take my chance. And yeah, I think some things dropped into place nicely. I was obviously playing in a really good Wigan team who had just coming off the back of winning a grand final, so it made it easier for me and some very talented lads. But yeah, seemed to have a really good year that year. I think um, I did well. There was probably a lot of things in my game that have improved since then. But yeah, just to be like 19 and playing for Wigan first team was sort of surreal, really.
You absolutely did do well that year, then also winning the Young Player of the Season award. How much pride did you take away from that?
Yeah, it's pretty massive. It's probably just surreal, as I mentioned, the whole year. Going from what 12 months or less earlier, being sat in an office as an accountant in Preston, playing sort of part time for Swinton, to then being full time at Wigan, playing every weekend and scoring and getting the individual awards was pretty amazing. I think it's still up somewhere in my mum and dad's house, the award that I won that year. So just very proud for me and my family, but they always kept me grounded. It was never um, go sort of crazy because I'd won. It was all sort of well done, but yeah, keep going doing what you're doing, and I think that's just keeps me the way I am now. But yeah, pretty nice to get the accolade, but there was obviously still a lot of work to be done.
And did anything shift for you mentally when you realised you could play to that standard? Or was it never a case of changing anything and more just having the opportunity to be able to showcase that?
I think there was definitely a shift in mindsets as I started getting game time and as I started playing sort of regularly. I was still in and out of the team at the back end of that year, though, just because lads were coming back from injury, etc. And even going into my second year, I still wasn't maybe first choice because there was lads who were better than me. It's simple as that. So, yeah, but I think once I'd been involved in the professional environment for a year and sort of been training with the lads and sort of getting used to being a professional, I think there was then a flip of a mindset of no, because I'd seen what you need to do to play in week out and keep yourself fit and be the best. I think there's obviously going to be the mindset you just follow what's in front of you, and we're lucky enough at Wigan that we had some very very great professionals who keep the standards, and I just tried to maybe mold myself or sort of shadow them, and I think that's what's helped the most.
And in that 2017 season, then, which players did you naturally gravitate towards?
Well, a lot of the lads who I'd sort of played with in the academy or amateur, so Oliver Gildar was my centre for a large chunk of that year. Joe Burgess was similar age to me, and sort of George Willis, people like that. But the one I sort of looked at and wanted to sort of follow and sort of take his path was probably Liam Farrell. I think he's renowned as being a great professional, and he set the standards every day. And I'm not for 1 minute saying I'm ever as professional or as good as he is, but just try to take little snippets off him and sort of basically see what he did in a day and try and emulate that. And obviously Sean O'Loughlin, who was the captain at the time, who's now a coach, was the Tommy Lulawai. All lads who got the balance right of working hard, but sort of having a good time while you're at it. So I think they were probably three people who were not bad people to follow in the footsteps of.
And with someone like Liam Farrell, then someone who you've seen in the academy days and now still playing alongside to this day, how much do you value that relationship?
Yeah, it's great. I think me and Faz are quite different characters, but I think that's maybe why we get on. He's pretty, till you get to know him, he's a pretty quiet, reserved, and I'm probably sometimes can be a bit too loud or the loudest in the room. So yeah, but we've got on well. I think sort of our relationship's grown, and our partners are friends off the field now, and our kids get on and play together. So it's lovely to see that. But yeah, I think just taking a bit of what he did and trying to emulate that's sort of helped me. I'm still way off where he is. I still don't quite have that illness every day and that dedication that he has. But yeah, I try to do little bits when I can.
Oh, love that. How nice. And now in that Wigan dressing room, then, who are some of those biggest characters?
Oh, there's a lot. We have a good group. I think since Matty took over, he's always pushed that balance between being sort of hard nosed and at it when we're on the training field, but then as soon as it's time to, is to flick it and have a good time and have a laugh. And I think that's what makes our environment so enjoyable. Harry Smith's a big one. He's a good mate of mine and a great character to have around. Jay Field, he's another joker. I think we all bounce off each other. Everyone's got in their own little ways. I think that's why it's such an enjoyable place to be, and why we've probably been so successful over a good few years. Is just we get the balance right, and that starts with lads being good characters. I think when Matty first took over, one of the big things he wanted, as well as being a good rugby team, was sort of being good people on the field and sort of getting that bond with the community and getting that bond with your teammates. So if you get that right, I think the rugby will follow.
And who are some of the biggest rugby fanatics in the side?
Jay's massive. He absolutely loves it. Jay Field. I think he pretty much he goes to the coaches with ideas for training and what players we should run. So we take the mick out of him sometimes. Well, we're Bevan, who's probably one of arguably our best player. He's the complete opposite. But we have a laugh about Jay. I think we'll come in the morning first thing, and he's already around the laptop with the coaches, and we have a laugh about it. But it's what works for him, and it's probably takes a bit of load of us. So I can't really complain that we don't have to do as much. So yeah, Jay's really into it. I think when it's time to switch on, a lot of the lads are good and they have a big curve for the team and they have a lot of knowledge. But yeah, Jay's one that definitely stands out.
Excellent. And now, when playing such a physically demanding sport, then of course that comes with those setback. It comes with those injuries, and of course you've been no stranger to facing those quite serious injuries from 2018. How do you deal with those setbacks and overcome them?
I've just tried to always adopt the same mentality with sort of any setbacks or any sort of negativity in my life. Is just to, I always think that if you sit around and you moan and complain or you sulk, or you do the opposite and just try and take the positive out of it, smile and have a laugh. That the situation that you're facing doesn't change. So whether that's a broken leg or a bereavement or an issue you're going on at home, you just try and do the best you can and be as positive as you can. Yeah, whenever I've had injuries, I've tried to just be as positive as I can, take it as sort of a learning experience and go from that. Someone's not going to come and someone's not going to come and fix your leg if you sulk for long enough. It's not how things work in life. So yeah, I just try to be as positive as I can and yeah, keep my family around me, which is always a good support network. And yeah, just enjoy the little bits that you can still do.
And then fast forward to 2022, then you're injury free and playing in the Challenge Cup final. And you were ultimately the hero of that match, scoring that match winning try in the 77th minute to seal a 16-14 victory. How did it feel to be the decider of a match of that magnitude?
Yeah, it's my career highlight today, and I don't know if anything will ever top it. Really, it was my first piece of silverware with Wigan. Been there obviously since 2017, so it felt like a long slog before I even got a chance to play in a final. I'd missed one. I missed a grand final in 2018 due to injury. So to be consistently playing in the team and be contributing and being able to play in the Challenge Cup final was a big sort of career high for me. But then to go on and finish the game as we did and be able to score the winning try, it's absolutely surreal. It's yeah, probably my favourite ever day playing for Wigan. I think just the whole weekend, the whole family being down there, the fact that it was at Tottenham Stadium, scoring the winner and the celebrations afterwards, it was just a crazy moment. And just the same people come up to me and talk about it today, which is pretty humbling, really. But yeah, I think one that will be in the scrapbook for a long time, and one you'll sort of tell the grandkids out about in the future.
I can imagine. And then mirroring that success in 2023, then also scoring the winning try in the Super League final. How do you reflect on that victory and where does that one rank emotionally?
Yeah, emotionally, I feel like that was sort of it was an amazing experience, but it was almost like a massive relief. I felt like we've been close in 2022. We'd missed out in the COVID final in 2020, and it felt like it was a long time coming to get to a grand final. I'm a Man United fan, and obviously playing at Old Trafford was something that as a kid I dreamed about playing there with a round shaped ball, but got a chance to play there for my hometown team rugby. So yeah, it was just amazing. I remember after the game just feeling like a sense of relief. It was a strange feeling. You're obviously absolutely elated, and it's an amazing feeling. But it was almost just like sort of the monkey off the back, and we've done it now. Let's go and try and get some more success. So yeah, another amazing one, another fantastic night, and yeah, being a Man United fan, it meant that a little bit more.
And that title was, of course, just the foundations that were built for a remarkable season the following year in 2024, a quadruple winning season. What elements of that side made you guys so successful, do you think?
Yeah, we obviously came back after the 2023 grand final, and a lot we spoke about was sort of not just being a flash in the pan, not just being a team that wins one and disappears. Um, that was what we talked about going back to back. I don't think until that point no Wigan team had ever gone sort of back to back in the Super League, so we wanted to be that first team. And 2024 was a bit of a strange year for me, especially at the beginning. And probably to answer your question, it would be the togetherness of the team. I think a lot of what we did through that year was just being a good group of mates who cared for each other and had each other's backs and wanted to play for each other. And yeah, we managed to win all four trophies that year, but there was a lot of up and downs. We had some spells in the year where we had a lot of injuries and lads playing out of position and got some poor running results. But I think we just sort of peaked at the right times when we needed to. Um, the World Club Challenge one sticks out for me, beating arguably one of the best Australian sides of all time in our back garden at the Brick, and yeah, then going on to knock them all off. Probably something that we maybe couldn't have imagined, but yeah, it was an amazing year. And then even like winning the BBC Sports Personality at the end of the year as well. That's something that's probably not really done much in rugby. So yeah, it was a pretty bonkers year in 2024. We won the look back to with very fond memories on the field, and that group of lads will probably meet up in 20, 30 years and still be talking about that season.
And then in that same year, then in 2024, you made your official England debut against Samoa, a game that you weren't actually even meant to be starting in. I see, you only came on due to injury. I mean, that must have been a whirlwind of emotions, let alone the fact that you actually scored a try in that match.
Yeah, so obviously I'd had a good season on the field in 2024, and at the end of the year you usually get the call from the England coach, whether you're included or not. And Sean Wayne, it was, who'd been my coach at Wigan, had rang and said that he wanted to include me in his England squad, but he couldn't guarantee that I would play in either of the tests. There was only two tests for that series. But I was just obviously was relishing the opportunity of going training with the lads and just experiencing a full England camp and seeing how it was. So the first test was actually played at Wigan Stadium, and I was unfortunately not picked for that. Um, and then there was a couple of injuries in the game, and sometimes, like I said earlier, luck falls your way. And I got a chance to play in the second test against Samoa at Headingley and make my full England debut. And as you said, I managed to score as well. So it was, yeah, pretty pretty amazing experience, very surreal to sort of represent your country, and sort of the cherry on the top of what was a very, very good year in 2024. So no, it was crazy. It was great to have family and friends there watching too, and another fond memory. My cap from that day is still on display at our house here. So it's yeah, very, very humbling and a great achievement for me, and I'm sure my family were very proud.
And now, if you would have told your 18, 19-year-old self when things were looking more uncertain that you'd be scoring a try on debut for England, would you have believed yourself?
The straight answer is definitely no. I think at that time, yeah, I was maybe a bit disillusioned with rugby, maybe just playing it for the fun, and wasn't ever a career that I thought I would go on and do and be successful in. So yeah, I think sometimes if I could go back to that sort of 18-year-old, 19-year-old version of myself, I'd maybe give him a rocket up the backside sort of thing, and just maybe kick myself along, and I maybe would have got chances earlier, or it wouldn't have been as difficult as a path to get to where I am. But and then sometimes I think that it's made me the person I am today, so I wouldn't change it. So yeah, 18-year-old Liam was not imagining an England debut at any point, I don't think.
And now, just to finish, then, of course, this year being your testimonial year as well, such an incredible achievement. But how much does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, obviously it's amazing to be awarded that. 10 years service to my hometown team is something that I'm really proud of. I've said it before, I can't ever imagine playing anywhere else than playing at Wigan. So just to celebrate 10 years of me is nice. I think sometimes there's a little bit of awkwardness, and it can get a bit funny when you're talking about yourself all the time. But one thing I have sort of really appreciated and seen this year is just the amount of people that are willing to support you. People come out to watch your game. They're willing to sponsor things and get involved where they can, and lend a hand. And I think that's just nice, and it's really humbling. And I hope it's because of my character. I hope that it's because I've done things well in the past, and I've been approachable to people, and I've been sort of friendly and nice to people, and I think it has gone a long way. So yeah, everyone who's come out and supported so far in the year, and hopefully will for the remainder of the year, I'm really appreciative of it. But yeah, 10 years at Wigan is something that I'm very, very proud of, and yeah, it's just an amazing thing. And me and my family are very, very settled here, and everyone's just so nice. So yeah, it's just a proud moment for me.
Brilliant. And then finally, then we've just looked at the last 10 years, but what do the next 10 years look like for you in terms of aspirations and goals that you have left?
Um, I think just to sort of be as fit and as available for the team as I can, and sort of play as much good rugby as I can, really. Some more silverware would be fantastic. I think you're always chasing that. It'd be a shame with the team that we've got to not be fighting and not be challenging for those trophies. So yeah, they would be nice. And then just have a good solid couple of years at least, 5 or 6 of playing, and then I'll be looking at what I'm going to do when I finish. Hopefully, can still be involved at Wigan somehow. That would be nice. I feel like I'd like to give a bit back to them for all they've done for me over my time. So yeah. I'm not a great forward thinker. I sort of take each week or each day as it comes, but yeah, it's sometimes nice to reminisce and look forward and think what it could be. But yeah, maybe win some more trophies and keep myself fit.
Great stuff. Well, Liam, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, and all the best for the remainder of the season.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been nice.